Hello, everyone, and welcome back to
The Chiss Ascendancy.
episode 32.
3-2.
3-2.
The big 3-2. We made it.
We're still here. Hey, before we get into the nitty-gritty, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, if you could please leave not just a 5-star review, but also write a review. We'd love to read it on air.
Yes.
That's a little tease for you. There you go. If you want to be famous, if you want some of the glory,
Just
if you want to be if you want to be here,
taste of the glory. See what it tastes like.
if you want somebody to hear your voice, one of the 7 times that someone views this video, you write a review. You understand?
Represent the people.
Cool. So we'll jump into what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll break off, talk about some news, and then we'll get into the subject.
Very good. Very good.
So today, per request on YouTube, we're talking pilots. Greatest pilots in Star Wars. And I have to admit, I told you all this, but in Star Wars, my least favorite thing is space.
Far and away, best pilot goes to Clone Wars. Best first episode.
Get out of here, best pilot. I did not care. I don't. Maybe it's because of video games, but in the movies too, I'm like everybody. Like for instance, I love Rogue One, but everybody's like best space battle, and I'm like, pish posh. Like best space battle, the one where Anakin spins into the Trade Federation, obviously.
That's a good trick.
That's a good trick. But today we're talking about the best pilots of Star Wars, and we're breaking it down between Force-sensitive and non-Force-sensitive because it's not really fair to have the two categories together. And then before we jump into that, though, we're going to talk about a little bit of news. So go right along hand in hand with Star Wars pilots. October 2nd, which is actually right around the corner, just a little over a month away, Star Wars Squadrons is coming out. And it's going to be basically the whole video game is about space and about pilots. I will not be making this purchase. But
it looks really
in my defense, I don't really play video games. It'll be fun to watch.
It also reminds me of when
I just have scars from Battlefront 2.
It reminds me of when Assassin's Creed came out with Black Flag, and I was like, great, a whole game of my least favorite part of the rest of the games on the boats. So,
well, I still have we see all these memes about it all the time because me and Samuel are constantly sending Star Wars memes to each other and in the group chat. But and in Battlefront 2, whenever it's like, would you like to do a space battle? I'm like, do I have to? And if I can't skip it, I will get in a gunship and fly into the other ship so I can actually shoot people hand to hand inside because I cannot fly a ship to save my life. And inevitably, the stupid computer will fly me into the broadside of a barn and blow me up, and I have a death for no freaking reason. So piloting is not my skill.
What really ruined me for Star Wars piloting games was Star Wars Starfighter, the 2001 game that I tried and miserably failed to play.
Is that the Naboo one?
I never made it past the first mission.
Do it all.
I was really young and I had no experience in video games.
Well, we played it on the PC and it was like
Windows 95.
Fly through this ring, and it's just the tutorial, and we were like, so hard. So yeah, Star Wars Squadrons comes out October 2nd. It does look fantastic, and I'm a little curious how the Trandoshan good guy is going to work because they're bad. But yeah, that's coming up. Also in the spring of 2021, it's officially we're looking forward to it, but we have official semi-date. At least we know it's in the spring of next year. The Lego Skywalker Saga. Episodes 1 through 9.
Excited to play episodes 7
excited,
through 9.
Yeah, for the sequels.
Obviously, I've already played episodes 1 through 6. Who would I be if I hadn't?
Right. Now, here's what's cool is Lego, they're the master of the Easter egg. That's their thing. And so if you get the deluxe version of the game, whatever system you're going to get it for, it has the box itself for the game, and then it has a sleeve that goes over it. And so the cover of the game is Darth Vader. And if you take the sleeve off, it actually removes Vader's helmet, and the case itself just has Vader, and then it has Anakin's head underneath.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you take the sleeve off, you remove his helmet. So that's going to be available in the spring for Xbox Series X, Switch, PS5, PS4, PC, and Mac. Get it at your local retailer.
It's out there.
And then another thing a little bit of Kenobi news. This is rumors, but it's pretty widely spread. Then again, widely spread was Mandalorian Season 2 trailer was going to come out, and Disney just hates our guts.
Yeah, it was supposed to happen more than a week ago. Here we are.
So Commander Cody in the 212th Clone Division are supposed to make an appearance in the Kenobi series. So we'll see. And then
you know what I would really like to get would be to get an appearance of Rex on the bigger screen, like live action Rex. That'd be cool.
You know what I would really love?
Commander Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf would be sick. I was going to say Cody just as a joke because I prefer Cody to Rex.
Yeah, but we've gotten Cody out of all the clones has gotten the most screen time in films by far.
We've had this conversation already.
Oh yeah, in films, yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to see live action Rex. I think that'd be cool. Live action Wolf would also be very cool. I would settle for live action Fox, but we're not going to get into those
Fox
things.
is a traitor. I would take Wolf over Fox 10 times out of 10. I'd take pretty much anyone over Fox. He's a traitor. All right, and then this time next week.
For those of you who don't know, he's harping on it so heavy because Commander Fox is my favorite clone commander.
Oh, that's not why I'm doing that. I'm doing it because he's a traitor in the Clone Wars and in the comics. Isn't he the one that holds Ahsoka captive?
Yeah, his orders.
Yeah, but he was, I don't know.
Good soldiers follow orders.
You know what happened to Tup whenever that happened.
Yeah, and he saved the day, so.
I would say that that's why I don't like Fox, because he was clearly, like, favored. That's such a weird thing, too, because the Fox and specifically the Shock Troopers seem to have, like, a different personality than the other clones.
I think it's just because they're the ones that are closest to Coruscant.
Like, closest to Palpatine and stuff?
I think so.
Dude, Vader destroys Fox in the comics.
Yeah, I know.
It's so sick. I was just relishing. I had the comic and I was like this.
All right, what are we talking about next?
And then this time next week, by the time this episode comes out next week, Thrawn Ascendancy will have come out.
I've already pre-ordered my audio.
Can't
And I'm just
wait.
going to not sleep that, and I'm just going to listen to it.
Really?
I don't know. We'll see.
It's going to be so sick. Anyways, so that's kind of news. And so today we're talking about pilots.
Very well.
And less about speedery stuff, more about space pilot. And we're going to get into it. So like I said, we're going to have 5 Force users, 5 non-Force users.
I think we should start with the non-Force users.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've got some surprise reveals. Some of them you'll expect, but
Yeah.
I think there's some surprise reveals in the Force users category.
Yeah, and this is definitely it's a personal preference because we own the podcast.
There's no rank. They're going to be in an order because that's how the world works.
I ranked the Force users. I kind of non-Force users are kind of just like. And we're back. So we're talking about pilots today, the greatest pilots. This is our personal opinions. Obviously, there are things that are out there that are maybe you have a favorite. So you want to start with non-Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
I think so.
And then, of course, per the usual, we may just think of things on the spot. So, is what it is. Okay, starting with number 5.
On the list.
On the list, yeah.
Again,
So,
there's no official ranking here. This is just...
in my head, they're ranked, but it's fine.
I seem to remember us discussing this beforehand, and they were not ranked.
Well, they weren't ranked, and then as I went through, I redid the ranking.
He's like, hey, I'm printing the notes. And while I was downstairs, he's like, I'm going to rank these.
No. I put these... I kind of ranked them. I just did. Okay, number 5, we have Heracindula. That's my Thrawn voice. Heracindula is a Twi'lek, and she is from Star Wars Rebels. She's part of the Ghost Crew.
She's in love with a blind guy.
Jeez. She
Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, she is.
Okay.
Her and Kanan have this crazy sexual tension the whole show. And they finally kiss the last season. But anyways, she's a very cool pilot, and she's kind of the leader of the crew.
Yeah.
And
how embarrassing for Kanan.
well, did you ever read A New Dawn, the Rebels prequel book? Basically, Kanan is just like drunk off his butt the whole book, and he's just I don't know. Obviously, he's going through some crap. He's been through Order 66 for God's sakes.
It's a kid's show, so they can't have him drinking the liquid spice.
Right, exactly.
Some nice Corellian ale.
Yeah, so he's kind of Hera's the leader. Hera has a firmer head on her shoulders, and you have to remember that Hera's dad is Heracindula.
Right, so
who
she's
is the
been in the
leader
fight since she was 6 years old.
Since she was 6 years old.
I'm gonna see how many times I can make that reference, and then Josiah makes it louder on top of me. How many weeks in a row we can do that?
No, I don't make it louder. I just do the accent.
Yeah, but you lean forward.
Sorry,
so by the mic.
I'm redoing the scene in my mind.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm joking within the joke. But yeah, no, she has been in it for
since she was 6.
6 years old. What do you want from me?
The thing is, she grew up on Ryloth, that war-torn place.
Ryloth sucks as a planet, by the way.
Yeah. Of course, the Blurgs are cool.
Yeah.
I like the Blurgs. If you don't know what a Blurg is, if you've seen The Mandalorian, a Blurg...
Was that on Ryloth?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
Yeah. A Blurg is... Well, that's not where The Mandalorian is, but that's where they are in the Clone Wars when you see the Blurgs.
Gotcha.
Kuil, the Ugnaught, the one that earns his freedom with the work of his hands, he rides a Blurg. So that's what you know.
And he brings them with him wherever he goes.
I'm bringing the Blurg!
He was very uncompromising in that.
Dude, how hilarious would it have been if they went to rescue the child and there was an elevator when they get into town and he's like, I'll go up the stairs with the Blurg. Don't worry. But yeah, Hera's a very, very, very good pilot. And I would say that throughout the comics and books and stuff, there is talk of her basically arguably being the best pilot in the rebellion. But what makes her a great pilot is not just her piloting skills, but also her leadership capability. Mm-hmm. And so she's great in a pinch, and she doesn't freak out under pressure. And so Hera's number 5.
Yeah, but this isn't Good Under Pressure Skills podcast. This is Pilots podcast.
It's true.
So remove the leadership skills, purely flying.
That's right. I don't know what reference you're making.
I don't either. It was a James Acaster bit, and I forgot the lines that he's making, but the tone is there.
That's so funny. All right, number 4.
Number 4, we're gonna give it to Django Fett. Django the Fett.
Yeah. That's my young Boba Fett laugh.
I think it's impressive anytime a non-Force user can give a Force user some trouble. Mm-hmm. And it's just a 1v1. He has the tactics. He clearly trained Boba very well because Boba was the one that stayed on Han's tail when everybody else failed to keep a track.
Right. Well, also the thing is that Obi-Wan multiple times talks about, this is why I hate flying. Mm-hmm. But he's a great pilot still. You see what I'm saying? And so Django...
Well, he's a Force user.
And he's a Force user. Yeah. So Django is flying Slave One, which is a much bulkier ship, much more awkward. I would be hitting the bottom of that thing on everything. Because, when you're flying the Jedi Starfighter...
Right.
You're basically sitting in the whole thing.
You're driving a Dorito car.
All right, yeah. As long as my elbows aren't touching, we're good, But Django's like, all right, I'm going to drive this elephant truck right up this alley. And he's just fantastic.
Wow, I never thought about that. That does look like an elephant's head without the ears.
Right? Then it does this, and then when it's in space, the ears do this.
Yeah, like little ears, like maybe an Asian elephant.
An Asian elephant, yeah. So Django Fett's flying that huge Slave One.
Yeah.
And he's in the asteroid field. And you have to remember... When Han's flying the asteroid field in episode 5, it's like...
getting hit.
Da, da, da.
They're getting hit for sure.
And Django's like... Whoa, 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 and he has the stick... And then he has
the...
Bang! Sorry for those of you listening.
Detonator... What is it?
Seismic charge.
Seismic charge. There it is.
The best sound in all of Star Wars?
It is number 1. Way above everything else. And then the closest second I can think of... Space base.
Dude, you don't have a seismic charge on the soundboard, do you?
Let me check. Let's keep going. Number 3.
But number 3, we have an oldie but a goodie. Glass with Class. The I was just thinking of classy old stuff. Anyways, the man himself.
Nobody here knows what Glass with Class is.
It's the door and window store, obviously. Even has a jingle. It's right next to Old McDonald Farm in 1960. Come on, guys.
If you know, you know.
So, Wedge Antilles. Wedge Antilles is a fantastic pilot, and he's definitely one of the guys who, if I'm not mistaken, on the Death Star trench run in Episode 4, he's the only one besides Luke that makes it out of those pilots.
Yeah, and then he has to duck out.
And he has to duck out because he's having some issues. Yeah.
Hit him.
And so Wedge survives, obviously, and the cool little nugget here on the side is that the actor who plays him is Dennis Lawson, and that is actually Ewan McGregor's uncle.
Very cool.
So they asked Ewan McGregor his first Star Wars
Legacy.
memory, and he said, "Oh, probably going to see Uncle Dennis in Episode 4." That's my Ewan McGregor's not on point today, but that's okay. But Wedge Antilles is a fantastic pilot, and in the book Resistance Reborn, it's got Poe on the cover. It's kind of orangey. Mm-hmm. It talks about what happens after the Battle of Crate. How are they going to get things back in order?
Just have some holdo maneuvers.
Yeah. Shut up. Talk about a killer pilot. Herself and everyone else. Yeah. So
there's a lot of jokes to be had there that I will not.
For sure.
Will not make.
So you have Wedge Antilles was teaching many of the New Republic cadets, and then had kind of tried to retire, and Wedge ends up actually marrying. Okay, do you know who Snap Wexley is?
No.
Okay, in Episode 7, there's a guy that's in like every J.J. Abrams movie, and he's tall. He's a white guy,
yes,
kind of heavy set guy.
Know. Yes,
that's Snap Wexley. And so when there's the Aftermath trilogy, the one that has Cobb Vanth in the little interludes, but Snap Wexley is like the main character of of most of those books. Him and like his crew around him, including his mom, Nora Wexley, who Wedge Antilles marries. And so Wedge is Snap's stepdaddy. And so Wedge Antilles is one of the greatest pilots the Rebellion had ever seen. When you're in the runnings with Luke Skywalker, who ends up being the greatest Force user of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and he was being chased by Vader, who's one of the other best pilots of all time.
Right. So yeah, Wedge holds it down. Wedge Antilles is up there. Number 2. If we're not going to... Yeah.
Han Solo.
Yeah. Number 2, Han Solo. And this kind of has to go... I guess is where we'll bring in the honorable mention.
Yeah. Han is 2A. 2B is Chewbacca.
Yeah. We almost put Chewbacca on the top 5 of this list just by himself, because he's a very, very good pilot just by himself. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of part of the team, and I wanted to diversify, and so Han is there. And Han is so good that in Legends material they had a term called Force Aware. And so in canon now, under Disney's banner, you're Force sensitive or you're not. And that's just how it works. And of course, there's different levels of Force sensitivity because of midichlorians and training and such, or if you're Rey, just whatever. But in Legends material, Han was such a good pilot and he was such a good draw that he was labeled what we would call Force Aware, which means he is not Force sensitive. He can't move things with his mind or things like that. But he has a flurgy twinge, as it were. He has his toes in the water, if you will. So it gives him. It's like similar to a spidey sense. So the way that when Order 66 is going down and Yoda's like it gets him like a heart attack. Han does not have that level of awareness. But if someone's like walking up behind him in a bar with a gun or a knife or something, he'll be like, "Hey," he'll have kind of an awareness.
Yeah. I think something else that gives Han the edge is just his, for lack of a better term, balls to the walls tendencies. He just goes full send always.
I almost spit my drink out all over you. Yes, he is. That is who he is.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I think you see it the best in Solo when he's doing the famed Kessel Run, and everybody in the ship is telling him no, he can't, but he just believes in himself and he freaking pulls it out.
He's like, wait a second. All right, now drop the coaxium in there. And I think
Don't ever tell me the odds.
Yeah, that's Han. Don't ever tell me the odds. And it's also Empire Strikes Back where he goes, "Oh yeah, watch this." It's
not my fault.
It's not my fault. But that's his style.
I feel that every time.
Car problems are the worst because most of us don't really know that much about cars.
Know it.
Yeah, poor Samuel has a frickin' not that big of a car problem, but an annoying car problem.
It's an expensive car problem.
Had to get a tire replaced. But yeah, Han is that guy that okay, we're in an asteroid field for one.
Yeah.
And we're basically the freaking
Talk about a wide load though. He's flying a pancake through space.
Yeah.
You're gonna get hit by something. I mean,
right,
it's not very, tall, but it's very wide and very deep.
And it's also strange because just thinking symmetrically or just being used to like a regular car or a regular plane, there's no symmetry.
Yeah.
So imagine driving Imagine driving a crane, but from the end of the crane. You're like, all right, here we go. Like that's Han Solo. And the pilot or the cockpit does not have a gyroscopic feature, which you see in a B-wing. Mm-hmm. So basically, B-wing stands for blade wing, and it's similar to where with Han, the Millennium Falcon has the cockpit on the far right side. A B-wing does as well, but when it goes into attack mode or in actual space mode, it opens up and the cockpit's actually at the top middle, which already gives you a greater sense of where you're at.
Yeah.
But
By
then
the way,
as it spins,
shout out to Star Pilot or Fighter Pilot or whatever. What was the game? Starfighter, because that was what first introduced me to the concept of a B-wing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Dude, the B-wing is killer in that PSP only game Star Wars Renegade Squadron Battlefront. Dude, there's one space battle the only one, I think it's above Kashyyyk, and I'd be like, yeah, I want to play the space battle. And there's a meteor in the middle of your two ships, and you race there, and there's a command post in the asteroid.
That's cool.
And if you're playing as the Empire, you take it over. TIE Defenders launch from there.
Oh, sick.
Which is the best Imperial ship ever. And then if you're the Rebellion and you take over the command post, B-wings launch from there.
If I had to pick a greatest ever Imperial ship, I would say a Super Mammoth Star Destroyer.
Well, I just mean an individual starfighter, obviously. So yeah, Han Solo is number 2.
Good enough for Vader, good enough for me.
Right? And then number 1...
Bigger.
And if you make one more "that's what she said" joke, I'll choke out you and your entire family. It's not funny.
Which is another "that's what she said" joke. Right there. He's like setting himself up for failure.
Don't do it.
I know what I said. Stop it.
Immediate anger.
I just need some ice cream and some me time. I need to go into my black globe and take my helmet off.
He would always have to have an ice cream shake. He could never have ice cream. He's got to slurp it through his vent.
Well, I'm just saying if he went into his little meditation sphere.
Can you imagine, though?
Yeah.
He's got like a...
Dude, you know how whenever
he's got to, like,
if you're in bed...
You know how, like, if you got a straw and you can, like, squeeze it? Mm-hmm. He's got to do that. And
imagine you're in bed and you fart and then you go to roll over onto your other side or something.
Can you imagine Darth Vader slurping? He's sorry, like... And then be like...
Well, it's just imagine like the
double slurp.
Yeah, imagine like whenever you're out to eat with Dad and he doesn't know how to ask for a refill, so he just does the thing.
Hey, that move has a 100% success rate.
Yeah, it does. But imagine that.
Just
but
like
it's
Anakin Skywalker's pickup lines.
I hate sand.
I hate sand.
Want to go home with me? Dude, so when you fart and you roll over in your bed and you're like, oh, like it just shoots out at you.
What?
Imagine.
Where did that come from?
I'm making a Darth Vader joke.
Okay, start over.
Okay. When you're laying in bed.
Okay.
And you fart.
Right.
And then if you...
Under the covers?
Yeah, under the covers.
Right.
And in the near future, you get uncomfortable, so you roll over to your other side or your back, whatever.
Pocket.
The air pocket is exposed. Similar to when you're taking a bath and you fart.
I was about to say, the bath farts are the worst.
The reason the bath farts are the worst, ladies and gentlemen, at home, is because
fresh. It's like, that's butthole to nose contact right there is what that is. That is a fart transplant.
It's a fart transplant straight
fart
from
right in my butthole.
It's a fart transplant. It's directly from
from
the anus to the noses. Now imagine that, but you're in Vader's suit and it just has nowhere to go and he just rises What if you just heard? You just heard. He just throws up in his helmet. I'll be right back. It's kind of like Jack Wagon.
Yeah, I was thinking
where they have the fart thing where they have like the
farting astronaut
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea helmet, and they're just farting in a hose directly into that thing. And then I think it's Steve-O's wearing the helmet, and
I think they have him running on a treadmill too, so it's hot.
Yes, and when he throws up, he's in the suit, so it just throws up around him, which would make you throw up even more.
That's just a terrible. That's a nightmare scenario for me.
So as far as I guess I was trying to rank these like best pilot. Han is my number one favorite, but the one that I hear the most about and the one who has the greatest on-screen showing of piloting skills.
Let's talk about that like 17 TIE fighter kill streak.
Is my boy Poe Dameron from The Force Awakens specifically. And from the beginning of The Last Jedi where he's like, and he's just doing like basically like a Tokyo drift and just doing wheelies
he's doing some
donuts in space and shooting those things.
Not to mention that he's doing a prank call while he's up to it.
Yeah. It's one of my least favorite parts about The Last Jedi because I don't like the prank call, but it's still silly.
Yeah, it got me pretty good the first time I watched it.
The first time I watch it, I'm like, but I don't know. I dread listening to him say, it's a call from his mom. Or when he says, hugs with an H or something like that. Dude, it gets me every time. And then Hux goes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? That's just, it's a little too slapstick for me. It's really funny.
I think it's funny just because I could envision myself coming up with a prank call scenario.
I still think it's really funny. It just, I don't know, it just throws me off.
It feels a bit gimmicky, but I enjoy it.
It feels like I'm not watching Star Wars for a second. Just in my personal opinion.
I can understand that.
You know what I mean? So Poe Dameron, dude, he is just redonkulous. And, here's the thing, is that he was trained by Wedge. Mm. And so
that's cool.
You got the guy who's probably, I would say as far as just like X-Wing fighter, we've never seen Han in an X-Wing. That would be a cool concept. But, or I'm sure we have in the comics or something. But more times than not, he's going to be in the Falcon, obviously.
I don't know. I can't imagine Han being willing to get into like a single-seat fighter.
Well,
that's not very Han to me.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good... If you have a private jet, and it's a 747, but it goes just as fast, if not faster than every other plane out there. That's the thing about the Falcon. It's bigger, and it's faster. It doesn't make sense, but it's space.
Crazy, right?
But I think that he is... I'm sure there's a picture there somewhere of him in an X-Wing concept or something. But anyways... but Wedge, other than Luke, is the greatest X-Wing pilot that there is. And so you have him teaching Poe, whose parents were both in the rebellion, and so he has a knack for it. He's a natural, and he's getting taught from the best. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the same thing with Luke's Jedi training. Like, he already has the bloodline, but he's also getting training from Obi-Wan and Yoda, who are also there being taught stuff through the cosmic force from Qui-Gon Jinn, who talks to, I don't know, the Wills.
Just a little somebody I like to call the Wills.
Yeah, there's such cheating. Anyways, Poe Dameron, that's the single coolest thing that we've seen from a single pilot. And the cool thing is it's in atmosphere. That's one of my favorite things is... He's there, and he's flying like 2 inches above the water, and the fish are like, whoa, as he's driving by. And,
Mr. Limpet!
Dude.
No,
whoa.
Mr. Bill! No!
It's so, as he's going, dude, it's like, ta-town. He's so confident that he'll be in a straight line, and he's like, eventually I'm going to hit this guy, and I'll just fly through his debris. Just a fantastic pilot.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I think Kylo Ren says something about it. He's like, I didn't know we had the best pilot in Resistance with us.
He says that during the interrogation.
Hmm? So if Kylo says it, you know Ben. He's not likely to throw out compliments left and right unless you're a pretty girl.
And then not even. He'll just send you a shirtless pic. Hope for the best.
You have sand in your hair. It's disgusting. Okay, so those are our top 5... I guess if I wasn't trying to rank them, Han is obviously my favorite out of the 5. But you have Hera, Django Fett, Wedge, Poe Dameron, and Han Solo. Honorable mention to Chewbacca because he is the secondary punch.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
a lot of the times he's the one that pulls Han out of trouble. You know
right.
what I mean? So,
well, then you see him flying. Like, here's the thing. You think about it. He's helping in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Remember that Kira and Han are in the front seat, and Chewbacca's like, no, you've got to run, rah, rah, rah. And he's like, what? And Chewie leans up and is like,
this one's a bit somber. Feel free to cry.
Yes. So he already knows what he's doing there. And then in A New Hope, he knows what he's doing. Empire Strikes Back, he's piloting because Han's in Carbonite. Return of the Jedi, he helps pilot. And then in Force Awakens, he's helping. And then when Han passes away, he's flying.
Yeah, not to mention, during the escape in A New Hope, he's the one that's actually flying the Falcon while they're, Han and Luke are doing the guns.
Mm-hmm. So Chewie's a fantastic pilot. Mm-hmm. So, on to Force Sensitives. I'll let you take number 5 because he's one of your faves.
Yeah. So I like to throw this one out just because it's not
and you make a good point.
It's not a widely known fact.
Yes.
And it's not a widely known fact specifically for the reason that because in all of the films, I'm going to say it, Obi-Wan talks about how he doesn't like flying. He says, this is why I hate flying. Flying's for droids.
Yeah.
But when he was still a Padawan under Qui-Gon's tutelage, he used to love flying. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of the cool little nuggets, and this is a little bit of a spoiler. So skip ahead 40 seconds. A little bit of a spoiler from Master and Apprentice, where Obi-Wan at the beginning of the book talks about how he loves flying.
Right.
And so you're like, something's got to change because by the end of this book, he hates flying.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does something very cool. In the entire book, he's interacting with different pilots, learning as much as he can. He says he wants to be the best pilot in the galaxy. Very high ambitions for our young Obi-Wan. And he's, flying in a new class of ship. He's learning about it, learning about different types of, little add-on features. And towards the end of the book, he goes and he's flying a single-person fighter. And it's a little ship that's meant to fit within an already smallish ship about the size of the Falcon, I'm assuming. And it's just like a little one-person transport. Mm-hmm. And he flies into the hangar of a larger ship and gets kind of stuck to where he's having to continue to fly in the ship. And he's basically flying this one-person fighter
down a hallway,
down the corridors within a larger ship, and ends up finding his way into the bridge. And then he's able to take over the bridge and assume command. Yeah. Which is just one of the most incredible things.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where
we can conceive.
It's a way... Okay, think about this. When you're watching Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, for those of you who just typically stick to the movies, when Anakin is flying down that corridor in the Naboo Starfighter...
That's a whole hangar.
You're already like, wow, this is kind of tricky. You know what I mean? It's trickier than usual where you're just out in space doing spins. Yeah. Now, imagine that, but it's the size of, your local bedroom. Yeah. It's just a little hallway.
It's just a hallway.
And he's flying a ship that's not much smaller than, like, a Jedi Starfighter, for instance. Like, maybe probably shorter, but, that same width. And he is just...
He goes all the way down and doesn't wreck, but he's so shaken that it scars him from piloting forever.
And doesn't ever want to do it again.
But that does not detract from the fact that he still did it and retained the capability of being a phenomenal pilot.
So, yeah, he's a great pilot, and he's able to get out of a lot of sticky situations. Mm-hmm. We don't really see him. And in Episode 1, you kind of see him go, yeah, hey, land right here. Like, he still has that mind.
Yeah, and you see him. He's the one carrying out all the repairs on the Nubian. Nubian. So he knows what's wrong with the ship. He's doing all the repairs. He's, on the comm link with Qui.
And he's doing the crazy sick burns. Why do I feel like I picked up another pathetic life form?
Yeah, freaking zingers. Zingers for days, my boy Obi-Wan.
What if Qui-Gon was like, train the boy, train him. And he's like, I will, master. And then Qui-Gon dies, and he looks at Anakin, and he's like, not doing it. Gives him the thumbs down.
On your life.
I'd sooner train Jar Jar. And I hate him.
Dude, he freaking does.
He doesn't like Jar Jar.
Me too, though.
Oh, that's some news.
What?
Oh, yeah. Another
late news.
Some more rumors. Haven't got any specific product pictures yet, but my friends on the gram, specifically Yakface, who's been covering Star Wars coverage for forever, and I don't know what his sources are, but they are dadgum good. He'll be like, yeah, in about 6 months, there's going to be this toy. It's probably this, blah, blah, blah. And then in 6 months, Disney will be like, it's brand new. And Yakface will be like, yeah, I told you 6 months ago. I don't know how he has the sources, but he does. But anyways, supposedly by the end of 2020 or early 2021, there's going to be a deluxe figure, which is Jar Jar Binks.
There you go.
Black Series, and he will be right here on this desk when it comes out.
Jonesing for a Jar Jar figure.
I am, personally.
I know that you are.
There's some figures that I've been really excited about. Like a Ben Solo figure would be really sick. Revan was really, really dope when the Black Series Revan came out. I just got that new Zeb to finish my Rebels line.
Yep.
But Jar Jar's high up there as far as anticipation goes.
Yeah. Anyway, no hate to the actor, by the way, of Jar Jar.
No.
I just can't stand the character.
And I think me and Skeleton Astronaut were talking about this, and he just said, as you get older, the voice just grates on you.
Yeah. Also, I just can't abide the idea of somebody clumsily crossing the finish line. You know what I mean? Because Star Wars is such a finesse atmosphere, and then somebody's just scraping along. He's like the human embodiment of any one of Anakin's ships. Everyone's like, last time I borrowed a ship from Anakin.
Yeah.
And it's like the fenders falling off. He's just landed.
Yeah.
That's what Jar Jar is.
But that's kind of, I think that the point was that
I know
it was
what the
for
point is.
kids.
I know what the point is. All right, number
you can
4.
reference our Jar Jar episode to hear this argument for an hour. Number 4, this one's actually a little bit of a niche character. He's in the movies, but you probably don't know who he is.
Obviously, very much.
Obviously, all these characters, we're going to put a picture in. But Saesee Tin. If you don't know who Saesee Tin is, he's a Jedi Knight, or Jedi Master, actually. And he has the 2 horns coming down. I don't know what species that is.
I'll put one picture in for Saesee Tin. It's, I know what it is. Give me a second. I'll put one picture in for him, but if you don't know who Han is, just watch the movies.
But the cool thing about Saesee Tin is that in the Clone Wars, the old one, the Genndy 2003 Clone Wars, he's leading a group of clone troopers, and they're about to jump out of this Star Destroyer, and it's cool because he has these 2 big horns coming out of the side of his head, and so he can't really wear a regular helmet, but he puts on this clone armor that looks a lot like a Mandalorian helmet. And ever since I saw that, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's my favorite Jedi now. And so I've really always loved Saesee Tin. And it's not a well-known fact, but many sources say that outside of Anakin Skywalker, Saesee Tin was the greatest... Iktochi, there you go. Or Iktachi, one of the 2.
My boy Jonathan Davis says Iktochi, so that's what I'm going with.
But Saesee Tin, it's believed, was the greatest star pilot that the Jedi had to offer outside of Anakin Skywalker by the time the Clone Wars were occurring.
And I assume that's because Iktochis are prone to premonitions in general. There is a Sith Iktochi character named Darth Cognis, and in the earlier books in the Bane series, she goes by the Huntress, and she has premonitions that enable her to be a really successful bounty hunter.
That's dope.
So the species in general is prone to that, so I assume that's why he would have such quick reflexes or be such a successful pilot, is because he's not only an incredibly force-sensitive being anyway because he's a Jedi Master, but his species in general also has that strong lean that would really be advantageous for a pilot to have.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never read that Saesee Tin had a little bit of premonitions, but it would be cool.
It might just be Legends material now, but that's something about the Iktochis in general.
Something that I wanted to talk about, but he's already going to be on the list in another form or fashion, was that Jason Solo is a fantastic pilot, and part of that is because he had a weird thing where he had visions of the future, but the way that it worked, shout out to Timothy Zahn, Visions of the Future, but the way that it worked was he could what's called flow walk, and it was kind of like time traveling, but he could go to another place in time, and he couldn't affect what was going on, but he could walk and see the...
Think astral projection.
And so that was kind of a backwards thing, but he also had a thing where he could look forward to the future, and he could look through basically different options. Hey, if I do this, if I leave right now and I go to the store, what's going to happen? If I stay here for another 2 hours, what's going to happen? And so I think that he began to master that, and he could almost do it on like a minute-by-minute basis.
That's very cool.
It's a very, very interesting thing. So number 4, Saesee Tin, Iktochi, Jedi Master, fantastic swordsman, but the greatest starfighter pilot that the galaxy had at the time, second to Anakin Skywalker. Number 3, one of my favorite characters of all time, and super underrated, and if you don't like him, I don't care. Kylo Ren, a.k.a. Ben Solo.
You see him do some pretty rad stuff.
Yeah, he does some really cool stuff. There's that one part in The Last Jedi where there's like it's like a drive-through hangar kind of thing where it looks like it's like a lane where you drive in or fly in your ship and then you go into
your McDonald's and you leave.
Yeah, but it's a weird, you know what I'm talking about? The weird oval shaped.
Yes.
And so it's like, it's within the ship or whatever.
It's reminiscent of the Battlestar Galactica.
I've never watched it.
Oh my god, never?
No.
You believe this guy?
I don't watch Star Trek either.
That's fine.
Although I've seen both the ones that J.J. Abrams put out. But there's that cool part where he's like, and
Talking about the old one, by the way.
Kylo's spinning and he goes right down that lane and pretty much just wrecks their whole ship.
Yeah. Cool.
But there's a very, very cool little piece of the comic from the Rise of Kylo Ren comic where he's leaving and they're like, we just need to shake him. And one of the Jedi Knights that are, or Padawans, says, he's the son of Han Solo and the grandson of Anakin Skywalker. You can't just shake him.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, like, the potential is there for Kylo/Ben to have been the greatest Starfighter pilot of all time. We just didn't get enough of him to know.
And before his untimely demise.
So just Kylo's up there, and man, just fantastic. And I can't really, I don't know. I could go on for a long time, but
cool
he's
character,
fantastic. And that quote just kind of wraps up.
Yeah,
the son of Han, cool. The grandson of Vader.
One of our best non-force sensitive pilots. One of our best, if not the best. Pretty up there. Yeah. Force sensitive. Mm-hmm. He's got the legacy.
Yep, exactly. He's got it coming from both sides. His mommy and his dad's side. He has great flying in him. Number 2, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit already, multiple times. But how are you going to talk about flying without talking about Luke, the greatest bush pilot in the Outer Rim territories?
It's true.
If you don't believe me, watch A New Hope. He was acing Womp Rats in his T-16 back home. They're not that much bigger than 2 meters.
You know how it goes.
You know, what's the big deal about this Death Star hole? I don't care.
Well, it's interesting because before he even really knew how to use the Force, Biggs was like, we're going to get you an outfit because we have the biggest job in the history of the known world, and you're pretty good at what you do. Like, think about that. Like, but they don't understand he's a Jedi. They don't understand that he barely knows what the Force is at all.
Well, and we're at the point in the Star Wars galaxy where the idea of a Jedi is so antiquated that people didn't believe they even existed.
Right. Do they even exist?
Yeah.
If they have some kind of natural ability, nobody's been trained. And frankly, Luke hasn't been trained yet.
Yeah.
And he barely, think about that. He barely learns to trust his feelings and is like, swoosh.
Real quick, can we talk about...
So for you Rey haters out there, watch that movie.
Can we talk about how underwhelming Luke's reaction was to... Let's be honest, Obi-Wan's very anticlimactic reveal that he's a Jedi. I was once a Jedi Knight, as was your father. Cool.
What did you guys eat? They don't care. You guys aren't vegans, are you? I want to try this, but I love pizza.
Right.
Not concerned at all.
Not at all.
Luke is fantastic. Man. Just there's some Legends material out there that I could just ramble on for hours. But there's this one part of the book, Legacy of the Force Inferno, where Jason Solo has already turned to the dark side and he's attacking Luke. And Luke learns this technique of how to hide his presence in the Force, right? So it'll feel like he died. And he's trying to get the drop on Darth Kaitis, a.k.a. Jason Solo.
That's typically a very dark side.
Mm-hmm. And so Luke learns this trait, and so they're flying, they're fighting, and Luke's ship explodes, and Luke somehow escapes, and also in that moment vacuums his presence in the Force. And so Jason thinks he's gotten the best of Luke Skywalker, the greatest Jedi of all time, but really Luke's like puppets on a string, doesn't give a crap, and so. Luke's just fantastic, great pilot, and he just has a natural knack for vehicles. You see him pick up an X-Wing. Think about that.
Yep.
First time in an X-Wing.
X-Wing, never heard of it.
Yeah, just gonna jump in.
Let's go to the Death Star.
Exactly.
That's no moon.
He can fly anything. He can fly the skiff at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. They're leaving, and he's like, just flying the skiff.
Just doing it.
He gets on those speeders on Endor, and dude, how fast are those things going? Freaking fast.
Too fast. Let's
And,
talk about those scout troopers. Those guys are hanging tight.
Let's talk about Tebow, the Ewok.
Freaking my boy.
Dude, what a G.
Talk about somebody stumbling across the
Tebow,
finish line.
It's somebody. There's an Ewok. I can't remember his name. But he's flying that freaking... Just holding it down. Ewoks are savages also. We could do a whole episode about how
Literal
crazy
savages. They
crazy Ewoks are.
Tried to eat Luke and Han.
So yeah, he can do almost anything. He can fly Snowspeeder. He can fly...
You can fly a Tauntaun?
Yeah, fly a Tauntaun.
Barely.
Whack. So yeah, he just...
You smell something?
You smell something, girl? Yeah.
So be like, Luke, do you smell something with the Force? Like maybe a giant snow bear?
Oh, you remember
Is that the joke?
Is that the joke?
Is that the joke on the Tauntaun's widow?
The Tauntaun's widow. It's hot as balls in here, dude. Good God. Dad's like, no air conditioning until the Wi-Fi's fixed. Crap, if I was gonna say, hey, remember that time that we couldn't not that we argued, but we were talking about who would win in a fight between a Loth Wolf and a Wampa?
Yeah, Loth Wolf, 10 times out of 10. I'm not wrong.
I feel like I agree with you. I'm just...
First of all, the Loth Wolf is sentient. Second of all, it can freaking teleport.
You're cross-eyed.
How's a Wampa gonna... He's fighting a daggum teleporty wolf. What are you gonna do about that?
Well,
we looked at the dimensions, and I'm pretty sure a Loth Wolf is bigger.
My thing was that the size of the Wampa would make up for the...
And then we looked it up, and a Wampa's disappointingly small.
Yeah, they're disappointingly small. Really ticking me off.
Yeah.
Is that the joke?
Is that the joke?
So, Luke Skywalker...
On the Wampa's widow?
Luke Skywalker is a fantastic pilot. And you know what I'm excited about for Thrawn Ascendancy is I'm hoping we see young Thrawn do some piloting.
I would like... Or, I don't know.
And we will revisit this, and he will be number one on my list. Boba Fett's
he seems
obviously
to know
up there.
a great deal about spaceships.
He does.
But
But
he never really flies himself because there's always a navigator.
I will say he was a navigator at one point, and...
Not in the flying sense.
Right. But, you know what would have been sick? Why we didn't get this, I don't know, and I'm pissed. But back in the day, every main character had kind of like their ship. You know what I mean? And
Like the Chimera?
well, no, not just that, but I mean like a ship that you could buy with like a figure.
Yeah.
And so obviously Han has the Falcon, Luke has the X-wing, Vader has the TIE Fighter, Vader's TIE Advanced. Dude, I would have loved to have a TIE Defender.
And Thrawn's over there like, you have no good ship ideas.
Dude, for real. You have a Orson.
This Defender is everything.
Orson Krennic. You have no good ship ideas. Dude, I wonder if Tarkin would have vouched for the TIE Defender if the Emperor would have... The Emperor was just so freaking stuck up and fed, just trained on the Death Star.
Palpatine just wanted this symbol. It was a status symbol. He wanted it.
Yeah. It's called the Death Star.
And then Tarkin is like, sounds like a great idea, Sheev. Want me to get some espresso?
Yeah. He's whatever Palpatine wants. Number one, go ahead.
Number one, if you haven't guessed it by now, you should be a little bit embarrassed. Vader / Anakin, probably the greatest pilot to have ever lived.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just phenomenal. He won the Boon to Eve Classic. I mean, what more can I say?
What else do you want?
What was he, like 6, 7, 12? I don't know how old he was. I'm bad at guessing.
I think he's 12.
Yeah, I mean, still very young.
Right.
He destroyed the reigning champion, Sebulba. He's doing repairs while he's flying. That's pretty impressive. Let's talk about the fact that he actually built his own pod racer so well, in fact, that Watto was deceived into believing that it was built by a professional.
He's 9 years old.
9 years old. 9 years old.
Since he was 9 years old, even in the fight.
Yeah, and then, destroyed one of the Trade Federation command ships.
Pew, pew. Yeah.
Also at the age of 9.
Mm-hmm.
We watched his career with great interest ever since.
He can...
The rest is history.
He, in episode 2, He's flying.
He's flying a pear across the table, cuts it with his knife.
You could argue he pilots the Reek in the
More successfully, might I add, than Luke pilots the Tauntaun.
Very fair.
Hey, Reek, you smell something, boy?
That's the freaking act like. Kata, kata. Yeah. Also, anytime that I'm watching anybody's like relationship status on Facebook.
Oh, he does fly that cool speeder bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
got
does.
that going for him.
I think about whenever
he
Anakin
pilots his mom into the grave.
Oh, sweet Lord. Yeah, her and the women and the children and the men of the Tuscan village.
Pilots him into the afterlife. Enjoy the river Styx, you freaking water hogs.
Water hogs. Oh my God. Tuscans are the worst. But, dude, I specifically think about this one time that it's in Star Wars Rebels where they have this whole squadron of A-Wings. And some, all kinds of different ships, but Hera's flying an A-Wing, and it's her and, like, freaking 8 people, right? And they're like, well, there's only one ship out there, let's overwhelm it. And, the camera angle changes, and the wings aren't like this, they're like this. And everyone involved is screwed. And there's this part where there's this move that he does where he shoots, and then he turns, and his ship is flying backwards. Nice. And he's like, da, 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 as he's flying backwards.
Brilliant.
And it was fantastic. So Vader's obviously the greatest pilot of all time. You could argue for Luke, but Anakin is, I don't know. He's the one, man.
Yeah.
I would love to see more. I'd love to see more of him in a ship somehow in a series or something. That'd be really dope. Also, like I said,
It's also very cool that, like, in the books and stuff, whenever he's in a ship, he never has a pilot. Or, in Thrawn, they didn't have a stormtrooper come and pilot for him. He's the one that, flew the ship.
There's multiple times in books, comics.
Yeah, there's a time
in some cartoon series.
In the Dark Lords of the Sith, they're evacuating from a Star Destroyer that was getting blown up by some rebels. And he had the Imperial Guards, and he was piloting. Mm-hmm. So it's very cool that even though he's got this status, he still likes to pilot.
Yeah,
something that's a very cool background thing for him.
Yeah, you can tell that he's it's something he enjoys, even if he's not allowed to enjoy anything when he starts Vader.
Right.
He's like, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, it's just cool that you don't see Palpatine get his hands dirty very often, but I can think of when you're a space battle. Being out there, that's like that's in the nitty gritty, and he's always just out in the thick of it. I think that's very cool.
And I also think that Vader, when I'm watching Vader pilot a ship, I have the most confidence out of any character. You know what I mean? Like Han's gonna get into shenanigans. I can even see Luke he'll do that thing where he just flies his ship straight into a swamp. But when Vader's like, I'll do it myself. I'm like, oh, you're boned. You're screwed. You're getting it. I just love that.
Ask not for whom the bone bones, it bones for thee. It's a Futurama reference if you guys.
Oh, that's funny
if you watch it.
So
that's some honorable mentions. Yeah. In the Force sensitive category. Rey does some cool stuff. Let's be honest. She does some cool stuff.
Hey, the cool thing where she just floats the Falcon out there and just waits for gravity to take back over.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
That's the trademark of a good pilot.
And she's flying through that whole Star Destroyer on Jakku.
Also, she's never flown the Falcon before.
Right.
Or a ship of that caliber at all, as far as we know.
The cool thing is they do write a story for it that she had found a flight simulator.
Okay, that's cool.
And so she
she'd
never flown it, right. That's what I'm saying is that, like, it was in her mind.
Yeah. And so that's cool. I mean, it's always impressive when a pilot can, just pull something out of thin air. And that gun was locked in forward position. She made it happen.
Yep. Cool writing.
Yeah, very cool. And another honorable mention is the Grey's Dark Lord himself, Sheev Palpatine. If you haven't read the Plagueis novel, it's talked about multiple times how on Naboo, Sheev was a successful speed racer. He would race the speeders.
Yep.
And
he had a white helmet with yellow goggles.
He was intergalactically renowned, though. So even as a senator, he was still, racing, and some of the other senators were talking to him about his racing career, and he was successful.
It turns out that actually, as the as the Supreme Chancellor, he still enjoyed it, but then he had an attack that was thrown in his life, and it left him scarred and deformed, and he was unable to do that anymore.
Similarly to when Whataburger leaves pickles on my sandwich.
You remember that time that Dad had specifically said no pickles, and they still gave him pickles, and he was like, could you take them off? And you were like, the damage has been done!
Am I wrong? If you've ever tried to take pickles off an entree, you still taste them.
I like pickles in my burger, so.
Well, you would still get to enjoy your burger then. But as for me, it's ruined.
It's
ruined.
Ruined. Before we sign off, let's actually look at how tall
I'm pretty sure it was just over 2 meters.
how
It was disappointingly small.
tall is not Baron Trump.
Why is that on the top?
I don't know. It's Google.
All right, let's see.
It says 2.5 to 3 meters.
Average 3 meters is on.
Okay, so 9 feet.
Yeah.
What is 150 kilograms to pounds? This is where I was disappointed, I think. 330 pounds. That just sounds so light to me.
We don't have any dimensions on a Loth Wolf, but they are sentient. Classification, get this, wolf.
Really?
Yeah, it says designation sentient. Classification wolf.
They're 5 feet. They're 4 to 5 feet tall at the shoulder.
Big wolf.
Yeah, massive.
Big wolf. Big enough for Ezra to ride.
That would be such a sick toy. Hasbro, come on.
I mean, it's like the size of a horse, basically.
I'm going to buy 3 minimum.
Right? That's about the size of a horse. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
and
teeth.
Then, and then as far as like superpowers and ability to be strategic, I think it would destroy a Wampa, personally.
Yeah, the whole sentient Holy Ghost wolf thing really kind of does it.
Yep. I stand by.
I stand by.
All right.
Let's say
any
if it
parting
wasn't
words?
sentient. What do you think?
I could still teleport, so I'm still going to give the edge.
Dadgum. I asked Dave Filoni, he never replied.
He's probably busy.
All right, well, I
Hey,
think
Dave,
that's...
it's me again.
Hey, checking
if
in.
you
I
could-
have texted him twice about it, actually. A year later, I was like, hey, just checking in. See you later, please.
Hey, I'm sure you're busy, but I'd just like to follow up on our previous conversation.
Please call me right now.
Call me right now, please.
So those are our
Is that
top
right for
10 pilots. If we forgot someone, for instance, Lando is very smooth, but we haven't seen him get out of a pinch.
Yeah. He's a better caretaker of the Falcon, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It was in mint condition at
It
the
sure
beginning
was.
of Solo and at the end of Solo.
Not so much.
Han's like, toys are meant to play with. Leans through the wall.
If ships could limp, that's what the Falcon would have done all the way off of that planet.
Yeah, on its knee nubs. Speaking of knee nubs, 9 Nub is supposed to be a good pilot.
And,
You know, Sebulba, technically not a starfighter pilot, but a fantastic racer
yeah,
pilot.
Duds are supposed to have very good reflexes.
So there's a lot of people out there. So if there's one that we missed, I know that like Kyle Katarn is supposed to be fantastic. I didn't want to dabble too deep into Legends because I wanted it to be characters that we all knew. For instance, Iden Versio from the new Star Wars Battlefront 2. Not a lot of people are going to know that character. Okay?
Come on.
So those are our top 10. Hey, if you disagree or if we forgot someone, please leave a comment down below. And like I said before, don't forget to like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys next week. So may the Force be with you always.
And remember, the only family you have here is me.
If we had seismic charge, that would have been
Full
time to use
send.
it.
Yeah, I looked. I don't have it. Sorry.
All right. See you guys next week.